Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Digital Wilds. I'm Robin, and this is Battalion Wars. You might not know of this game if you weren't around the GameCube scene in the late era, about 2005. This was developed as a GameCube spin-off to the Advance Wars games, originally called Advance Wars Under Fire. The name was changed to Battalion Wars for a number of reasons to do with it basically being by a different team, Cujo Entertainment, who are a British-based developer, and being an entirely different genre. It's a sort of action RTS combination, which I find very interesting, and it differs from the Advance Wars series in a couple of other ways as well. So without further ado, let's get started and see what we're dealing with.
The demilitarized zone on the border between the western frontier and the Tundran territory. For months now, the site of an uneasy truce between two mighty armies. This is a waiting game, with both sides primed to retaliate in the event of a preemptive strike. But on this historic day, control of the Tundran Empire passes from the iron grip of Tsar Gorgi into the more progressive hands of his son and heir, Marshal Nova. And with Nova in charge, there are those who dare to whisper that this time, peace might just endure. War is a contact sport, gentlemen. Sack that defensive line. Go, go, go! Now line up! Our boys are getting mighty twitchy down there. We got the men, we got the playbook. Where's the conflict?
The world is changing, Herman.
Looks like this truce could last a long, long time.
What? You gotta be pulling my pin.
But if we have to fight, then fight we shall.
In the meantime, the men are getting out of shape. How about we organize a little sortie to perk up their spirits?
A field exercise. With live ammo, of course. Betty, I like the way you think.
Come in, Commander. This is Brigadier Betty speaking. Frontier Command has chosen you to carry out a recon mission along our border with the Tundran territories. It's been a while since your battalion saw combat, so I'm going to be putting you through your paces before you head out on patrol.
So after some not very well running cutscenes, we are introduced to gameplay. We have ourselves a single soldier. We will get more, don't worry. We can L target with the left trigger like we can in a Zelda game. We press A to attack like we do in a Zelda game. But unfortunately the comparisons with Zelda end here. This is very much its own scene. Right, so we've been taught how to use the camera controls, and Brigadier Betty is continuing to yell at us, but ultimately, basically she's just telling us we've got a mini-map. So you'll see that these individual infantrymen don't move very quickly and aren't all that powerful, but this is the tutorial, so more will come up. So we'll chase this spy down across the level. This is basically just teaching us the movement controls and how to use the mini-map to track enemies.
Whoa! Looks like the spy is setting up listening posts on our turf. Destroy them!
So you'll see in the center of the screen we've got our ammo counter, which goes down, I think, from 30. If that runs out, we'll automatically reload. It's very difficult to voice over this tutorial because she keeps shouting at us, but we have basically nearly got to the point where we're having actual combat, which will be an interesting opportunity to show you how this game works at close range. So unfortunately, because this is a GameCube game and had a really tiny vestigial nub of a second analog stick, the camera controls are a bit weird. You have to rotate the camera using the main analog stick and also use it to control your movement. If you hold L button, then you'll be able to strafe like you would in a sort of first-person game, but it's a slightly dodgy control system for those of us used to normal dual stick controls. Uh-oh, this doesn't look good.
That's one of our boys. Go see if he's okay.
I don't think he's okay, Betty.
Darn it, he's a gunner. That spy is gonna pay for this.
So he will, and there he is. Right, so here we are. We've been given some fellow soldiers. We can command them with the X button to tell them to follow me or stay. So we command each type of unit as its own little individual marker on the HUD.
Target one of them and press the Y button to order your men to attack.
As Betty says, if we press the Y button, they'll all concentrate their fire on a particular target. That's useful enough for now.
Their target, they will free those prisoners. Orders, Commander. Target the big ammo dump. The explosion should be enough to destroy the barbed wire.
POW camp here. If we destroy that ammo dump, it'll blow up the barbed wire, and then we can rescue this recon. Right, so now we've lost control of those infantry units. That doesn't always happen if you take control of a vehicle. It's just for the purposes of this tutorial. And yeah, you'll see here that the vehicle controls are not great, shall we say. For one thing, the camera focuses on the ground like we're playing Micro Machines, and secondly, it's incredibly floaty.
That's a Tundran armored division down there. Looks like we've stumbled onto something big.
Prepare yourselves for defeat, decadent frontier cowboys!
Zargorgi, your presence here is a clear breach of the terms of the ceasefire. What do you think you're doing?
Making war, Brigadier Betty. Isn't this what Frontier Command has been waiting for?
But I thought Marshal Nova wanted peace.
I think the assembled might of my personal army speaks for the Marshal's intentions, Brigadier.
So yes, we get an S rank for the tutorial level, which isn't hard because it's very difficult to mess up. So we learned that not only do we have a very similar Advance Wars style setup for the game with a sort of Cold War between two enemies, and spoiler alert, there's a real enemy between them that's going to come up. We also have learned how to command troops, we've learned how to maneuver our own troops around the battlefield, and we've kind of learned that this differs from Advance Wars in not having the same factions. It's not just Orange Star and Blue Moon fighting each other, there are more factors at play. So with an S rank in hand, we learned what a rifle grunt is. We'll be seeing plenty of those throughout the game. They're not particularly good, but we do have a lot of them to come. So now let's move on to our second mission inside the Tundran territories. Okay, so we've been given command of another 4 rifle grunts. This makes us a little bit more powerful than we used to be, and we've got these Tundran camps up here, so I'm hoping that there will be some enemies we can try these guys out on. Just gonna destroy their tents at the very least, because there's often health inside them. There we go, there's a spy from last mission, and yeah, he's not going to survive very long. There we go. Yep, so as the general says, we can heal these troops by picking up medical packs from dead enemies. Also blow up this ammo dump for no particular reason other than to slightly damage myself. That probably wasn't the smartest idea in the end. In addition to giving the Y command to target all our guys at one enemy, we can use the C stick to select individual troops. So we could target one at one enemy and one at the other. At this point, it's not very useful, but that does become useful later when you are trying to deal with loads and loads of enemies and lots of different units at the same time. So if we flank our way around these bits of cover, we can do more damage than if we're shooting them behind sandbags. Now, I'm not quite sure how that works, because I wouldn't have thought that being behind a sandbag will protect you if the bullet misses the sandbag and hits you. But they seem to be magic sandbags that just have a debuff on incoming fire on them. So those might be useful to get some of those for the Frontier Army as well. Right, so we got ourselves a machine gun nest here. We could assign one of our men to it, but I'm going to take it myself. Going to pause my troops in front of it, and fortunately they're invincible to friendly fire, so it's not as bad as it could be. You know, you guys could be more helpful, frankly. Oh, now they get there. They have a very limited range on them for auto-activating in the face of enemies. Right, so we're taking those guys out. Come along, troops. Grab any medipacks you need. There we go. So it looks like we're up to full health. We got ourselves a little encampment down there with the Silver Star. I wonder if we could sort of shoot the ammo dump from here. We probably could, but I don't think that's a good idea, because leaving those troops to fend for themselves probably would result in a couple of them getting killed. So through this forest, we've got some more enemies coming up. I'm going to assign a couple of my troops to take out one group, and the others to take out the other. Well, I could, or I could just run up and shoot them in the face. That would also be effective. These troops are remarkably resilient. All these bullets are ridiculously weak, because it seems to take like half a clip to take out one infantryman. There probably is a way to mod this game so the bullets do 10 times damage or whatever, and I imagine it would probably completely break the game balance, so it's not something I'm willing to try. So I haven't really been addressing this battle with any kind of tactics so far, but there are actually enough enemies that this might be worth doing. So I'm going to concentrate them on one at a time. Yeah, we can, as he says, dodge out of the way. I never really bother using that, because honestly, if you're getting hit with enough incoming fire to kill you, it'll probably find a way to get you anyway. Blow up these barrels, and we'll free ourselves some more rifle grunts, so we've now got 8. So we've now got 8 infantrymen on hand. We haven't been introduced to any new unit types yet, but that's about to change. So in comes the chopper, and that should be dropping us off some more units. Firstly, going to take out that enemy rifleman. So we've now got 12 grunts on hand, which makes us quite formidable against infantry. There we go. See, that guy just melts. We've also got ourselves our first tank. So this is the first vehicle we've had that's got any kind of weapon on it. So we're going to be using that quite shortly. If we press the A button, we fire these shells. They're quite wimpy and they're quite short range because it's only a light tank, but you'll see it does a significant amount of damage against infantry and it has a splash damage on it, so it's pretty good. If we leave our troops back here for now, our infantry are quite vulnerable to the machine gun towers, whereas the tank is relatively resistant to machine gun fire, so going to use that to take out the difficult bits that are up here, and we can also use it to destroy that recon, which is also machine gun armed. Every unit in this game, regardless of what it's firing, can damage every other unit, but with armoured units basically up against machine guns and rifles, it's basically just chip damage. So, with the exception of a couple of very, very fast-firing units, it's generally not worth going up against them without some kind of explosive. You'll see our tank has a sort of passive machine gun on it as well, so it will deal damage to incoming infantry from that guy on the top who fires automatically. Right, so we've got some of their bazooka veterans incoming, so I'm going to switch over to an infantry unit, and we'll get the tank following us. So what we can do now is we can target the rifle and bazooka infantry with our riflemen, like so. And then we can target the tank against the recon unit, which is machine gun armed. I think the tank's in fine condition, actually. I don't think it's been hit at all. Right, so we deal some good damage to that recon by exploding that ammo dump next to it. So you'll see that we are dealing sort of chip damage with the machine gun, and it does go down eventually, but it's just not a very efficient way of doing it. Right, so going to switch it back over to the tank now, get all our guys to follow us, and... oh, that was probably a bad idea. This enemy recon is here, but doesn't seem to be doing anything. So I'm just going to pull back and destroy it, because I think the game wants me to, even though it's not actually any threat to me. Come on, men. Over here. Yep, out of the explosion range. See, the light tank, although it is more powerful than an infantryman, isn't actually all that powerful. I love the little dance the frontier troops do when they win, by the way. So we only get a 95% there. We lost it a bit out on speed, which I think was basically me not handling the battle at the end very efficiently by just sort of swarming in and not really targeting enemies properly, so they took a little while longer to die. But 95% is still good enough for an S rank, so that's perfectly good as far as I'm concerned. And we get a little bit of information about the light tank. This is basically just for fluff text. You never really need to know any of these stats. Particularly the transport copter, which you can never command yourself.
When are you going to give up? This is stalemate, father.
Patience, Nova. The game is not over yet.
Marshal Nova, there are reports of sporadic fighting across the demilitarized zone.
What? The western frontier have broken the truce?
Actually, no.
Forgive me, son. I could not stand to see you toss our proud imperial history into the wastebasket of reformist peacemaking.
How dare you! The Tundran army is no longer yours to command. Nelly, take control of those units. It seems we are at war.
You would replace me with her? This is an outrage!
Okay, so as the Colonel says, we're going to go rescue some frontier guys. We've done attack in the last mission, and we're going to do defense this time.
Remember what General Herman taught you about flanking, Commander?
Yes, if you do it, you'll go blind. Right, so that was not a very efficient way of dealing with this, and I did nearly die in the process, but there are medipacks around, so I can pick those up and get back to full health. There we go. So if we destroy these ammo dumps, we can make dealing with these infantry a lot easier. So with them duly wiped out, we can cross this river, and the ridge that we're defending is up there. Fortunately, we've just been handed some bazooka veterans who are, as he says, they are kind of anti-tank troops, but they're also, that kind of undersells them. They are just general, really good anti-everything troops. You can use them against infantry. If you'll see here, they've got its chargeable projectile, which is very good against armor, but is also, it's about as powerful when fully charged as a light tank round, but it's also very, very fast firing, particularly when fully charged, and you can just destroy that. You can just destroy infantry with it. They will melt like butter. And this is part of the problem this game has with balance, which is that the units you're supposed to use for particular purposes aren't always brilliant for that purpose. Similarly, the dedicated anti-infantry unit, which is the assault unit, which will come up later in the game, is actually perfectly good against light armor. You can use it to destroy recons and tanks. Anyway, we've been given some more units to defend. I don't think they're under our direct control, but we are using we're going to deploy 2 of our machine gun guys to these machine gun nests so they can do a little bit more damage to the incoming enemies. We're going to need a couple of bazooka veterans over here, and going to pull the rest of the, yeah, we've got the rest of those guys with us. So you'll see here we've got this capture point, which is the flag. We don't want to let the enemies get on that. If they do, they'll start pulling the flag down. And if they manage to get our flag down and their flag all the way up, then we will lose the battle. Hopefully that shouldn't happen. So we've got our first incoming wave. We'll see what these machine gun guys make of it. They should do a decent enough job on their own, but we can provide some decent fire support as a bazooka veteran. And I'll show you how good these guys are against infantry. So, yep, there we go. One-shot kill. Another one-shot kill. And another one goes down. So you have to get in relatively close to use the bazooka veterans against these guys. But once you do, you can wipe them down. You can wipe them out much more quickly than they can damage you. I think we've got some attacks coming up at the rear, which is going to be these recons. So we need the bazooka guys to deal with those. Fortunately, with 4 of them on hand, this shouldn't be too difficult to deal with. Here they come.
Use it when you need to remind yourself of your orders.
So there we go, that's one down. We've got another heavy recon here, which is slightly more machine guns and damage, but shouldn't be much more resistant to bazooka fire. There we go. So that's the second one down, and the last one's here. Concentrate firemen, and down it goes. Nice and easy. Right, so another attack coming up from the rear. That's okay, we've got the machine guns in place to deal with that. I hope those guys are still on their positions and haven't been destroyed, but they look as though they're doing okay. Yeah, no damage to them yet. These guys don't seem to obey any kind of actual strategy. They'll just sort of walk into machine gun fire, which is very gratifying as the defender, but I imagine would be completely aggravating if I was commanding these guys. So this time, I think we're going to have to deal with an attack from both directions. I'm going to leave the infantry here to guard the flag, and then I'll take the bazooka guys with me. I think they should be relatively easy. We'll deal with the recon guys first because they're the tougher targets, but this shouldn't task us too much considering it's only the 3rd mission of the game. Right, so here come the recons. That's one down. No sweat though. There we go. Yeah, the AI pathing on this is not brilliant. They will just walk up to an armored target and start blasting it at 0 range, but seems to get the job done.
I did not think we could take this much punishment.
Oh, I see. So you sent me on a suicide mission, did you, Colonel? Well, thank you. Okay, what he means here is that we've got an aerial drop-off incoming. They're going to drop some enemies on the center of our base. This is actually possible. It is actually possible to shoot these guys down. It's very difficult, and you wouldn't really want to bother, but you can. The transport copters are very, very resistant to damage, as you'll see, so you have to really concentrate fire on them in order to bring them down. I haven't managed to do it on this occasion. And I don't think you get any points for doing it anyway. It's just a nice little challenge for the experienced players. So as you'll see, they only dropped a couple of infantry who didn't manage to get any kind of purchase on our flag, so we'll just wipe that guy out.
Congratulations, Commander. You defended the radar array long enough for reinforcements to arrive.
Okay, so one last target. I think we've got a tank incoming, so we'll just bring the bazooka guys for this one. The riflemen aren't going to be hugely useful other than for drawing fire. And if I lose any, I lose points on my mission completion, so, you know. I've got a tank coming with me as well. Alright, I can use that. Oh, I think it's just the 2 of them. Okay, that's not too bad. So, I'll deploy the tank to attack that guy. And I'll deploy the bazooka guys to attack the other one. And between the 2 of them, I'm sure we can get this done. Tanks are a little bit faster than infantry, so getting them with the bazookas is a little bit of a tougher task when they're moving. But we can sort of still circle strafe around them and dodge their fire fairly easily, even with the splash damage. So, there's tank number 1 down. And tank number 2 down, and our tank didn't even have to get involved.
I may have underestimated you, Colonel Austin.
With some unspoken sexual tension in hand, we head back to base, and we'll see what grade we get for this mission. Another perfect est, so that's good stuff for me, and it looks like, I think... Yeah, we've learned a little bit about the bazooka veterans. Basically, turns out they're good at destroying vehicles, as you'd expect. So next mission is Operation POW, which is very secretively named. So unfortunately, you can't skip cutscenes in this game, so I'm just gonna give you a brief précis. Basically, there's a base here. It's got some of our POWs in it. We've got to destroy it and capture them within 6 minutes. Destroy the tank first, and then we'll wipe out the infantry. Okay. So there we go. We got ourselves a recon, as well as these infantrymen. I'm just going to destroy the remaining riflemen, and we'll see to that. There we go. So over to the recon. We lose control of the infantry, and now we've got a bit of a driving mission on our hands. So, the Recon does not have a weapon that we can control. There's a machine gunner in the back who can shoot at enemies that are behind us, but we can't control that. So, unless you wanted to sort of park next to enemies and wait for him to do the job, it's generally not a good idea to try and fight in these things. Fortunately, we won't generally be controlling them. It's more for driving missions like this, which are honestly kind of the weakest part of the game because of the driving controls aren't very good. You don't go very quickly, and it kind of lacks the sense of drama that they're trying to imbue. You can run over enemies, though, so that's kind of fun. Right, I think there's a tank the other way, which I really don't want to get involved with. Trying to take any kind of corner near a cliff on this thing is always a nightmare experience.
Watch out for those bazooka veterans. They'll put a dent in this operation for sure.
Only if I slow down, because their aim is absolutely terrible at any kind of moving target. So you see, we're swinging around like a shopping trolley on ice. So I'm not sure what kind of time I need to get the maximum score on this level, but it's not something I'm planning to hang around and find out. So hopefully we'll manage an S on this, because we managed to destroy the base at the beginning relatively quickly, although this game can be quite harsh in its rankings. It doesn't really matter, of course, it's just nice to get all the S's. I think there is an unlockable level which might require getting all S's on the missions in an area, but that will be very much a bonus that I can show you if I can do it, rather than something I'm actively aiming for. Uh-oh. Okay, so I didn't take that bridge quite right, but we managed to... I mean, I did land straight into a brick wall, so it wasn't exactly the best performance. Yep, so this has turned into that bit of Zelda Twilight Princess where you're sliding downhill on a makeshift snowboard all of a sudden. Well, I'm trying. It's not entirely clear where I'm supposed to be going, to be honest. Oh dear. Yeah, this isn't going as planned. Oh dear. My health, my precious health. Back into the barn where they can't get me. If I could turn, that would be ideal, frankly. Yep, okay. Full heal there. Oh dear. I did not plan this well. Ah. I'm beginning to think I've probably lost that S rank at this point, but we'll see what I can do. So through the woods. Try not to hit the trees. They will definitely slow me down. Now that we're out of tank range, our damage is not so much of an issue, but still something I'm keen to avoid. Well, this is beginning to at least resemble Darkest of Days, for those of you who missed the last Wednesday series, because it's all brown and trees. Turns out the way past the roadblock is to drive past it. And there we go, there's the gold star that means our salvation. So we're in, and we will soon get control of these troops, which is nice. Over to the tank. We've also got some anti-air units for the first time, although they have just destroyed the gunship they were meant to take out. So I'm going to switch over to a bazooka unit, because I find them the easiest to deal with. Alright, so we get enemies incoming from over here. I've just put most of my units on guard mode for now, because that'll do the job now that we're in static defense. But going to try and destroy our way through a few of these rifle grunts with the bazooka unit. You'll see our anti-airs are not particularly good at ground targets, but they can sort of inflict a little bit of damage at very close range. There will be a gunship incoming at some point in a moment, but until then, there's not much point in our anti-air units. I can see it hovering on the horizon over there. I don't know if that was meant to be visible or we're just playing it too high a resolution to obscure it from me. Single light recon on its own, absolutely no problem for a bazooka unit.
Nova's bazooka vets pose a serious threat to your tank. Take them out with your infantry.
Au contraire, I'm going to take them out with the tank, because the tank is very powerful and the infantry units aren't. This is kind of the problem with the balancing of this game. It's just, you can sort of out-damage any class advantage that you might have or not have. And I believe, I might be wrong, but I think their chargeable units always fire their charge shots at the weakest possible level. So any enemy bazooka that comes in is not going to do a huge amount of damage to me. Okay, so we've got some riflemen incoming. Those are easy enough to take out with the tank, particularly at range. Now is it time for the gunship? Ah, yeah, here it comes. So, we got that guy, and lock on. Anything with any kind of altitude, they'll lock onto properly. And down he goes. Oh, I think we've got a tank on the way. Yep, bazooka veterans, and the tank, you can be dealt with there. You can use the anti-air unit against tanks, as I'll show you. But because the missiles head into the air, they're not very good at anything past really short range.
Now that's what I call a victory.
So another S rank for me, slightly slow on the speed there because I got caught up in that base for a little while, but we're still at the 96%, which is very nice. So we've managed all S ranks so far. That will not last through the rest of this game because there's bits of this I don't remember very well, but nonetheless, we seem to have taken over half of Russia at this point, which is possibly a bit of a concern. So, as the Colonel said, we've got a couple of secondary objectives here. We can go and rescue some extra units to add to our battle strength. I would strongly advise doing that, because otherwise you will get wiped out on the approach to the castle. This isn't too difficult a mission. This is just our first kind of wide-ranging task where we've got to deal with a whole bunch of units over a wide area, and we can kind of decide our approach. This is where this game really shines, I think, because you can sort of find your own approach to these things. There is an element of tactics involved beyond just attack the fixed point and defend the fixed point. Okay, so that's this first encampment down without much serious loss. And over here, we should be able to pick up an extra tank, which is quite good. I'm going to hold my units back for a second while I deal with this machine gun nest, because I don't want any of my infantry getting wiped out. But, yeah, 2 shots takes that down, and in they come. Let's get a couple of shots in across the bridge, hopefully take out the old unit. And, yeah, things get significantly easier for us. So they're opposite, yeah, this is the route up to the castle, which I'm not going to try and take at the moment, because I will get my tank destroyed, which I really don't want to do. Yep, you'll see at the moment, this is getting a little bit dicey. If you press the Y button without targeting an enemy, your units will just move to whatever point you have highlighted with your cursor. So that can be a good way to sort of position them in precise locations for defenses, for example. Anyway, we're going to get up to that silver camp over there. So we're just going to head back over this bridge now that we've wiped out those gate guards, and we will rescue whoever is up here. Just going to switch over to a bazooka veteran, actually. My tank is getting a little bit damaged for my taste. So we've got our first enemy flame unit. It's basically a short-range flamethrower. They are quite dangerous against infantry. You want to be a bit careful with them, but concentrated fire should take them down. They're not so damaging that it becomes, you know, a real mission ender. Particularly when they'll insist on standing in the middle of us like that and just getting blown apart. Okay, so that's them down, and we'll break open. There we go. So we got ourselves an extra tank. So another couple of flame enemies down, including some fire from the tanks. We can head down and get the second of the secondary bases, and we'll unlock some flame veterans of our own. So I'm going to take over the newly added tank, which is at full health. Hopefully we'll let the other more injured one hang back a little bit and hopefully pick up some fuel down the line. So back over to this bridge and over to the forest, we'll get those flame veterans, and then we can make our assault on the castle. So we could take the road. I'm just going to head over there directly. You'll see there's a tank waiting for us, which, if we were clever, we could probably do some sort of very long-range shooting with the bazookas on manual aim and take it out now, but I don't think it's worth that level of effort. So instead, we'll just go in for the full frontal attack. Get the first hit in, which gives us a significant advantage. And you'll see that if we circle strafe, even with a tank, the enemies are not particularly good at targeting. So, Flame Veterans 3, we've now got 5 of them, so that significantly makes our anti-infantry job easier. Well, we'll test them out now. Yeah, here we go. 5 flamethrowers concentrated on the 1 rifleman. He goes down very, very easily. So, just going to switch back over to a bazooka trooper, maybe one that is on slightly more health. If I can destroy this tent, we might get some health out of it. Yep, there we go. So there's some fuel, which one of the tanks can go and grab. And now we have only one mission left, which is to go and take the castle. This shouldn't take long. So we've got ourselves a big concentration of infantry over there. I'm just going to start laying down some fire on them from range. As you'll see, if you manually aim up, you can sort of drop your shots onto the enemy. I don't think that was ever something that you were really intended to do, but it does work. There is proper artillery in this game. It won't come up for a little while. So, in fact, I might go over to one of the flame veterans and we'll show off how these guys operate against the bazookas. You have to be a bit careful, because just like our bazookas are effective against their infantry, theirs are effective against me. So you'll see, with the flame veterans, you've got to try and keep the little dial as near to the top as you can without it boiling over, because if it does, you'll have to wait for it to cool down, and then you'll lose your ability to use the flame for a few seconds. But near the top of the heat meter, it does its maximum damage. So that's the trade-off you got to make. These enemies shouldn't be much of a problem for us. But there is a tank here who is going to be more of an issue. So we'll deploy our tanks against them, plus our bazooka vets. That shouldn't take much time. The flame veterans are singularly useless against the light tanks. They will basically just sort of warm up the paintwork. So over to a bazooka veteran. Start laying down some fire from above. There's no kind of locational damage in this game. A hit is a hit wherever you hit it. So it's not that you'll gain much advantage by flanking vehicles, other than the flanking is only effective against infantry that are in sandbag cover, basically. So machine gun nest over there. Again, our bazookas will do a decent job taking that out. Oh, we got our first heavy tank of the game, so that's going to be a problem. These guys are a bit more resistant to damage, obviously. They've also got a more powerful gun and more machine guns, so you don't want to be taking too many risks. Yep. So I've lost my first unit there. I've gone over to a flame unit by default, but I'm actually going to switch back over to bazookas because they're serving us quite well. So we won't get 100% for sort of tactics there because we did lose an enemy, but we'll take that flag by deploying our infantry to capture it. And that ammo dump over there is probably going to want to go down in case there's any enemies hiding near it. So we managed to capture the base before any reinforcements showed up, so we should get a 100% for speed on that at least. Ah, so only an A rank for that one, not an S. That was probably the power because we didn't destroy all the enemies because we failed to wait until the reinforcements showed up. If we destroyed them as well, we probably would have got the S. Oh well, not a problem.
Boy, have I got a mission for you this time, Commander. Our
men rifled through some drawers back at Castle Potemkin and came up with the location of Marshal Nova's elite tank division. And guess what? It's up to you to go head-to-head with Nova's nasty old tanks and destroy every last one of them.
You have made a grave error in coming here, General. The Iron Eight are undefeatable.
Hogwash! My boys can take your armor any day of the week.
So basically we've got to take out these 8 heavy tanks and destroy some helicopters along the way. It's nice and easy. Basically got to protect our anti-air troops and our anti-tank units, our bazookas and our light tanks, because if we lose those, we're probably not going to be able to take out the heavy tanks that are the focus of this mission. But we seem to be able to take out most of the obstacles in our way fairly simply. We've got a gold star behind us, which implies that there's a... There we go. So our concentrated anti-aircraft fire will do a nice job there. We've got a heavy tank heading up the back. We're just going to start laying some bazooka fire on him. Plus 4 light tanks, that should do the job. I might well lose this bazooka guy, but we might get lucky, and yet we just about did. So some lovely health there, which will help me get my bazooka guy back up to full. Okay, so that's 1 tank down. We're getting shot at a little bit over here, so just going to concentrate on this guy a bit. Got a second gunship coming in. These guys, I think there's no sort of infinite spawning in this game. Basically, once the enemies are gone, they're gone. So it's a good idea to just destroy these guys as they come up, especially because a full salvo from the missile guys will destroy a gunship very, very swiftly. We've got a second tank over here, which is going to be a problem, but we'll take out the rifleman first, plus someone around here who could do with taking out, just for the extra power rating. So I did see that tank over there. Yeah, there it is. I don't know if it's driving away from us, though. Oh, no, it's heading back. Okay, so draw up the bazooka guys. And from range especially, it's best to attack them, because you can get out of the way of their shots before they'll come in. So, okay, that's 2 down. We've got a third and a fourth over here. Just going to start picking at that guy, so if we can draw him in, we can hopefully deal a little bit of damage before he can get into a firing position. Nope, nope. There we go. Well, we got ourselves a gunship over there, so I'm just going to tell the... not the flame troopers, they really are not going to be good for this. The anti-aircraft guys, yep, you can take out those guys as well if you like. That's another gunship out of the picture. If we lead our troops over here, we'll try and head up and take out this side of the river before we try and do anything more complicated. So we can't quite climb that hill. Oh, here we go. Number 4 has come to us. So we're down to only 1 anti-aircraft trooper. That is a bit of a problem. So we've got to keep that guy in good health. In fact, I might take him over directly, because I really don't want to be in a position where I don't have any anti-aircraft guns. So we'll send in the tank to deal with those guys at range. Oh, we got a gunship overhead. That's my job. And fully charged. In go the missiles. And you'll see that we can do some sort of chip damage with the machine guns and so on. So we're not completely helpless without the missiles, but they're really, you really don't want to go in without them. Right, so heavy tank over there. We'll send in our light tanks and our bazookas to deal with that. Might grab a few sort of pot shots with the missiles, see if we can do any damage with the explosives. Oh dear. Stay out of range, because I'm on very low health. And he goes down nice and easy. Just going to grab this health pack from their dead troops. There we go. Missiles looking a lot healthier now. Yeah, so you see our missile guy is pretty useless at anything other than tiny range. Oh, we got some bazookas over there. Okay, be a bit careful. Going to jump over to the tanks and help them deal with those. Tanks running into each other, particularly on AI, is a real problem, because it means they can't actually shoot straight. Oh, we got some healing over there for the tanks. Okay. Right, so try and gather the men back together, and we'll go push on with the mission. Well, you deal with the infantry, and I'll deal with the gunship, lads. So he's not getting in many hits, to be honest, but if we can get another salvo of rockets in on him, that should solve that problem for us. There we go. Oh, we're losing many of our basic infantry, to be honest. We need those in order to capture flags and so on, so I'm a bit cautious of losing them. Not many guarding this bridge, so we should be able to push through that relatively simply. So, just quickly over to a bazooka guy. Hopefully can get some hot shots in on him. There we go. Oh, a big hit on our bazooka guys there. We lost another one. But that's the penultimate tank. So, if we can deal with these infantry down here, which would be nice. think they're just riflemen. Oh, there might be a bazooka. Oh. Oh, it's another bazooka guy down. Still, we'll do what we can. Okay, so over to attack, and we'll push up the hill and try and get the last of these guys taken down. We've got another gunship over there. I don't know if we've still got a living missile trooper. Fortunately, we have. Okay, so that's a bazooka trooper taken down. Take out these bits of cover that the riflemen are hiding behind. Make life easy for the infantry. Ah, so we've got an aircraft right above us, which I can't quite target. Gonna go over to the anti-aircraft guy and see if he can do the job. Yep, there we go. That starts to get the job done. And there we go. I mean, we've killed 7 of yours and you've killed 1 of mine, so this is not really a... If I could get in and target the guy I'm supposed to be killing, that would be brilliant. Everyone fire on him. I don't care at this point.
How will you destroy my armor without any tanks of your own?
Well, using my missile guy and using my bazooka guys, although they're all dead, admittedly. Ah, so that wasn't actually the last one, in which case everyone needs to focus on him. Oh, bloody hell. I've got nothing. So my tanks are down, and I've only got my missile guy to deal damage to this heavy tank. I can do it, but it involves a lot of strafing that... I don't know, I'd have to be lucky at this point. Okay, it's getting there, halfway down. Oh, looks like we're going to do it! Yeah! So... We're not going to get a good score on this mission, because at the last moment I managed to lose pretty much all my infantry and all my tanks. But we have at least destroyed them. Yeah, damn right. 1 anti-aircraft unit took out a heavy tank all on its own. Yep, it's only a C rank for that, which is the worst possible rank to still get a victory. That my technique score is what's bringing me down there. You can see only 11%, which is basically how many of your troops stayed alive through this mission, and the answer is almost none of them. But we made it. So with that... I think we're going to call it an episode for now. I hope you've liked seeing the beginning of Battalion Wars. There will be more next time. We've nearly finished the first part of the game, so this shouldn't take long as a series. I would imagine 3 or 4 episodes probably. But things do get more of a challenge to them. So there will be more to come on next Wednesday. On Saturday, we're continuing Resident Evil 4. And on Sunday, we're continuing with Wario World. So we've got a few series on the go. There'll be some one-offs down the line as well. I'm working on another one today that will hopefully be out in the next couple of days. So I hope you've enjoyed this. And thanks very much for watching. If you've liked this, subscribe so that you can help me grow the channel. And I'm also on Patreon at patreon.com/digitalwilds. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.